What's up, strongest men, women, and children from blocks all around the world? I am my block's strongest man. I have, as always, my co-host Isaac from Hunger Smash Fitness and a very, very special guest for you this evening, pro strongman Jose Baez. What's up, Jose? How are you?
I'm doing well. Dealing with the unusual heat out in San Diego, but staying beautiful out here, staying on the grind.
So are you always from San Diego? Because I know that you're, I don't want to say close, maybe close competitor-wise with Gabe Pena. Like I was thinking maybe you were originally from Texas?
No. I met Gabe at Nationals. I believe it was 2019. We started following each other when he competed out at California's Strongest Man. I've always lived in San Diego, at least most of my adult and teenage life. Most of my childhood I spent in Tijuana, Mexico. So after being born here in LA, we moved out there so my family could settle some affairs that they had and buy a home here. And I've always been here. Speaking of Gabe, I mean, I don't know if we've it's pretty much out in the open already, but he's expecting, and I'm excited for him. If he sees this, I'm really excited for you, brother. And great guy to meet at Nationals. Competed against him at the Arnold as well, and really fun. Learned a lot from him, and honestly, one of the best competitors I've ever gone against. One of my favorite. I'm happy to know actually that he esteems me to that high regard as well. So I look forward to seeing him in the future, and I'm working to get qualified to Giants Live and get into that level.
Yeah, he when I interviewed him on my channel, he had a lot of great things to say about you. I actually asked him who was your favorite strongman you've ever competed with, and he brought your name up first, also mentioned Trey Mitchell, but he said, yeah, Jose Baez is awesome. He does hold you in a very high regard, and I did see that announcement that he had recently. I'm very happy for him as well, and I messaged him as such, so that'll be it's great news for them, for sure.
Absolutely. I couldn't be happier for him. And can't wait to see, baby Texas Titan rampaging around, turning heads and making things happen as well.
Yeah, that kid's going to be out deadlifting me by the time he's 2, if it's a boy, or maybe if it's a girl too.
I'm sure it's going to be in his genes. It's going to be great to see.
So Isaac, what do you have going on your channel recently this week or these past few weeks that we might want to talk to our audience members about to tune in? So yeah, basically any of you who are watching who have not liked this live stream, please go ahead and subscribe to my blog Strongest Man. And after we're all done, remember to shoot over to Hunger Smash Fitness and watch a bunch of Isaac's stuff, give him that watch time that he so greatly deserves, and subscribe to him as well. But Isaac, what do you have going on recently on your content?
So we got, the Whoosh show and all that sort of stuff coming up. So I'm trying to get some stuff together with that. I also, one of my buddies started a company called Cuddle Bear. And so they're like weighted teddy bear heads with a handle on it. And so they're for, like 1 to 5-year-old kids or so. And so they can, work out with their parents, basically doing kettlebell stuff. And now he's doing dumbbells and all sorts of other stuff. So he sent me some of the stuff. So I'm trying to get some videos out for him on that.
So we got to get him to set up a baby registry and hook up Gabe Pena.
There you go. Yeah, send them over.
Most definitely. I'll make sure to buy him a good set.
Yeah, they're pretty cool. The ones, I think that the heavier one that he has right now is like a pound and a half, and then the lighter one is about half that or so. So they're not super heavy, so it's perfect for little kids when they're learning how to do kettlebell swings and all that sort of stuff, and Russian get-ups and everything else. So he's had the kettlebells for a little while, and then the bear bells are the ones that he's just adding, and so it's dumbbells, except it's a weighted teddy bear heads basically, and they're actually pretty cool. So I'm trying to get some stuff together for him and get some advertising on that front. And then all the strongman shows that are coming up, which we can talk about all the shows coming up in a little bit, or we can do it now, or whatever you guys are most comfortable with, but trying to get some predictions and all that sort of stuff together.
Yeah, it's always difficult because, Jose, we usually work on, whatever show's coming up that week, but we have 2 coming up this weekend. So it's a lot of research work for sure.
I can imagine. I can imagine. That's great though that the shows get coverage, and it's always exciting to hear different views and predictions. That's always cool. Not only that, when it comes to me, for example, sometimes I live under a rock, so I have to do my research, and it's great to have channels give the predictions. That way we can get excited about a ton of stuff.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Thanks for the good word there. So I was just wondering, I mean, and I'm sure the audience members are wondering too, how did you first come across Strongman? I think you were mentioning that you're a football coach now. Do you have a football background? Did that lead you into strength sports? Kind of how did that all develop?
So strength training was just a habit for me. When I first started football in high school, I learned early on that, you lift weights, you get better. You get faster, you get stronger. I wasn't going to be the tallest guy. I'm sitting at 6'1", so we're here in San Diego. 6'1's pretty big, but then you get out to the Midwest, you get out, out east, and those boys are they're pretty big. So you got to give yourself a chance to have a chance. And strength training was, aside from it building me, it was really, I don't want to say therapeutic, but it was a good outlet for me. And I continued it on even after football. So after I stopped playing football, I interned as a coach at West Liberty University, where I was at. And then I came back over here to the junior college that I originally came from and got a scholarship to at Southwestern College, and just started coaching. And they had a great gym there. I kept training. One of my fellow coaches, his roommate is the strongman coach here at Deadweight Strength, where I now train. So he kept pestering him, hey, get him over to the gym. We need to see what he can do. And I swear, 2015 was when they approached me about it, and I ducked them until, I believe, May of 2017, when I'm like, you know what the heck? What's the worst that could happen, And I came out here, and the first thing they had me do was a log press. And I have to say it went very well, because I just wanted to keep trying and trying. I did a yoke, I did a stone. I messed with the circus dumbbell, but I realized real early that that's not just something you just press over your head like it's nothing. I hit myself over the head with it. But yeah, definitely an eye-opener for me. I fell in love with the sport. 3 weeks later, I competed in my first show, level 2 contest, and I took second place by a hair. So that's how it jump-started it for me, and here we are now.
That's awesome. So of those first few events that you tried out, barring the circus dumbbell, but of the other 3, which one really grabbed your attention where you said, I really love this, I got to do more of this? Was it the log, or was it one of the other 2?
It was definitely the log. As people can tell, I love log pressing. It's something that I find very natural, especially because I found the ins and outs of it from, I tied it together to a lot of the power clean and hand clean work I did as a football player. But then I realized that it's a lot more natural. It's a lot more fluid. It doesn't have a lot to do with mechanics and timing. It's more about getting the log to a specific place at a certain time and just bracing. It's a very functional and very awkward movement at the same time. And it just felt right. I don't know if that explains it to its, to how it really should feel, but it felt right to me. And from there on, it's like, if I'm going to do one thing right, it's going to be log pressing, Yeah,
so this is just a layman's question, but does it feel more natural because when you lift things in nature, they're not bars, they're more 3-dimensional in nature. So a log is something like, I go on a hike, I come across a log, I don't come across a barbell. So it may feel more natural, even natural stones, which I like lifting. It's things that they would occur in these dimensions in nature. So maybe your body is kind of more ready for them. Does that make any sense?
Yeah. It applies to life in general, like your activities of daily living, a lot more, in my opinion. Personally, I feel like I'm a kid again, because when you were a kid out hiking or out there, it's like, hey, can you lift that rock? When you were out, in college with your buddies, like, hey, can you deadlift that car? Pick it up off the floor a little bit from the trunk area. Little things like that you could think, oh, they're silly, but for me, this is a playground. When I go out there and compete, it's because I'm having fun, because I can relate to it. Picking up a log, people are like, oh my, a log's heavy. Not everybody's ever seen a loaded 400, 500 pound bar, but they've seen how heavy a rock or a log could be, and they can appreciate that, Yeah,
absolutely makes sense. I There's a log I've come across on my hikes in the forest where I keep trying to Steinborn it, and I haven't been able to yet. But, you know, I think perseverance is important. How about you?
Oh, definitely. This sport will bring it out of you. I mean, the one thing that I'm coaching here locally at our gym, a couple guys that are new to the sport, and I tell them, look, you're going to fail a bunch of times before you get it right, but it's one of those things that you have to get used to. You have to, even when you can manage a weight, a lot of these contests are giving you weights that you have to do for reps over time. And it's all about staying in it mentally before you can get at it physically. Because if your mind's not in it, your body's not going to follow. You know, so definitely perseverance. You know, stay at it, man. Hatfield that thing.
So are you gonna go for the American record anytime soon, or I mean, because your log press is getting pretty high up there?
If the opportunity arises again, I'd be lying if I said I wouldn't go and try and take that. Definitely a learning experience for me when we went to Clash on the Coast in April, because there's a lot of elements that I found out I had to train for or be ready for. The heat, the humidity was one of them. I'd never pressed with a wooden log before, and even though it wasn't that big of a difference, it definitely plays a slight significant difference when you're up in those weights. I mean, the jump from 440 to 460, big jump. You know, even when you train with weights that high, when you put in all those factors, it weighs down on you. And of course, none of us back down. I was real happy to see 4 of us advance after the first weight that we picked, and we picked it for a reason. 200 kilo is definitely a breaking point. You know, if you can lift that, then you're ready for the next one. It wasn't like, you know what, let's get a little bit to get a confidence boost or nothing. Either you can or can't do it. And that was the fun, exciting part. Is, you know, we got to prove to everybody else that we're ready for this stuff. So when 4 of us advanced past 440, we went to 460 like we had nothing to lose. And I mean, Bobby, you know, my hat off to him, incredibly strong in this, and he has way more in the tank. I feel like, you know, he just got enough to get that record, and he focused in on other areas. But I see him pressing well close to, if not 500 pounds soon. And yeah, it was an eye-opener, and I'm excited to at the possibility of having an opportunity at it again.
Well, Terminator in the audience certainly thinks you're going to break the American record.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I don't plan on disappointing anybody. If I get that shot again, I feel like I learned a lot, and yeah, I expect big things. I'm not gonna slow down anytime soon.
Yeah, when's America's Strongest Man this year? Is that something you have your sights set on?
America's Strongest Man is supposed to be next week. Unfortunately, I will not be there. I had a lot of people message me already asking why I wasn't on the roster, and trust me, it was a tough thing for me to do because I really enjoyed last year's show, and I see the roster and I see a bunch of names I would love to compete against. I know Tyler Cotton was one of them, and he was a little sad messaging me why I wasn't there, and I had to take some time off. I proposed to my fiance right before the American Log Press attempt. And in order to get things rolling, I'm of Catholic faith, and we had to take care of a couple things when it comes to, you know, the process of getting married through the church. And I had to make a choice between getting that done on time and having my wedding date set for when we wanted it, or continue to train and set aside time. And at this point, my marriage and the family I want to start came first, and it was tough, but I had to do it, you know.
Well, first and foremost, congratulations. That's awesome news.
Thank you so much. That was long overdue. Trust me, my fiance would agree. It was long overdue, but had to get it done. And we're happy about it. I mean, as long as she's happy, I'm happy. So.
Yeah, I'm Catholic as well, so you have to go do pre-Cana and all those things.
Yeah. We talked to our parents about it, because when they all got married, they didn't have to do all this stuff. And of course, everybody has their process, and we have to respect it, and we have to do things right. So we just want to make sure that everything gets done, and, you know, work on what needs to get worked on once everything's down and set on the table.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, the reason I asked about America's Strongest Man is because I believe Marcus Crowder won it last year, and then he went on to compete at Mammoth Strength Challenge, which Isaac and I did a bunch of commentary on, and that show's coming back again. It's already set. So Isaac, I don't know if you heard, but Mammoth Strength Challenge 6 is on the books. So David Waters has that all going. The great guys at Garage Gym Life Media are going to be streaming it again this year. And speaking of Garage Gym Life Media, if you like a lot of their streams or some of the contest analysis I've done domestically in the past, they are sponsoring this live stream right now. So I want to give John Greaves III, the founder of Garage Gym Life Media, just a minute to tell you a little bit more about all the awesome stuff they're doing over there.
Training in a home gym, especially if you're training by yourself, can be tough because sometimes you just don't have the motivation to go in your garage or your basement and get it done. And that's why we stream competitions every month on the Garage Gym Life Media YouTube channel. I'm John Greaves III, founder of Garage Gym Life Media, and after 20 years of training in a home gym, I can tell you that there's some days when I just don't feel like training. And those are the days when I put on some sort of training video or other strength-related content to give me the extra motivation I need to get in there and get it done. There is nothing more motivating than seeing people achieving their goals at a powerlifting meet or a strongman competition. And that's why month after month, we provide that content to you right there in the comfort of your own home on our YouTube channel. Plus, we leave it up forever so you can always just throw it on in the background anytime you need that extra dose of motivation to get you going. And that's why if you're not already a subscriber to Garage Gym Life Media, I invite you to take advantage of this opportunity to add this powerful training tool into your arsenal, because I want you to succeed right there in the best gym in town.
And once again, we do thank all the fine folks over at Garage Gym Life Media for sponsoring this live stream. But back to our discussion. So Terminator says, can't wait to see you at OSG. Do we know what the events are there yet, Jose?
Yes. It's a 3-day event. I don't know the order of the events per se, but I do know there's going to be a log press for reps, log clean and press away. So you only have to clean it once. And there's going to be a car yoke walk. So I know for a fact that the open men's going to be quite heavy. I think it's going to be the heaviest yoke I've ever done personally. There's going to be the sandbag toss, which we've seen in a lot of shows recently. That should be a good one. The deadlift ladder, of course, that one's always exciting. Normally there's 4 weights, but this year they added a 5th weight on a mammoth bar. So the 9-foot bar that mimics the elephant bar. So that should be exciting to see who gets to the 5th one and, rips that off the floor. Of course, there's the Atlas stones. I feel like I'm forgetting one. Oh, there's a Husafel sandbag and the sled drag. So we have to carry the sandbag to the sled, then the Husafel stone to the sled, and then drag the sled all the way back. I think it's a 50-foot runway.
Wow, so, that's crazy, Medley.
It's gonna be a fun contest. Those 3-day contests, I really enjoy those because the recovery and how you approach every day really makes a difference in your performance.
Yeah, absolutely. You do see some athletes who are really good on 1-day shows and maybe not necessarily on multi-day shows, and then you have Evan Singleton, who's good at everything lately.
Evan's looking phenomenal. I mean, I started following him after the Arnold. Actually, I saw him backstage, and I couldn't believe how big he was in person. Now, mind you, because I'm always stuck out here in California, when I went to the Arnold the first time in 2019, I saw Hafthor Bjornsson for the first time in person, and I was blown away. I've never seen a 6'9", 450-pound man. Nevertheless, I believe I have pretty big hands, and when I shook his hand, my hand disappeared. I just felt like he was just grabbing a nub. It was humbling. But I saw Evan Singleton in the back, in the athlete area at 2020 Arnold, and ever since then, I saw how he, carried himself and the advice he gave. He was joking around with Anthony Furman back there for a while, and I started following him then, and I've been watching him perform, overcome his injuries, and now he's podiuming everywhere he goes, and I see him doing really big things. I really want to see him win World's Strongest Man. I really do.
Yeah, speaking of Anthony Furman, maybe we go back and talk a little bit more about Clash on the Coast. How were you first invited? Like, how did that first come across your desk?
So what happened was right before New Year's, my coach hits me up, and he goes, "You know what? I never really tend to max out an event when I'm training, just for safety purposes. Anything could go wrong. I'll go for PRs here and there, but I don't really, go crazy with it." So he hits me up and he goes, "All right, so last heavy log for the year is like, how about we go and get you to do something crazy?" And the heaviest log I had hit was 420 for a single, and I was like the Saturday before, so he got the idea. You know what? Let's push it. So I texted him back. I go, "What do we want? 435?" And he sends me a program for the day, and he goes, "You're gonna hit 450." I'm like, "Whoa, okay, sweet." So just mentally prepared for that day. I remember that night, the whole gym stayed, and we loaded 450. I got it to my chest, and I just thought, get it overhead, use your legs, give it everything you got. I got someone to smack me in the back right before, and I don't know if it was just the atmosphere, the buildup, but that was the easiest just lockout of my life. It just flew overhead, and I got super excited, slammed the log down. I started yelling at the camera, and of course I'm sitting there going, I'm going to post this on Instagram as soon as I can. This is huge. And it wasn't 2 minutes after Anthony Furman hits me up. "Yo, I got an idea. Give me a sec. I'm going to talk to some people." The very next morning, I get a, "Hey, how about you come out in April or end of March to try take the American log press record. You think you could do that in 4 months?" And of course I said, "You know what? Chance to train for a heavier log than that? Absolutely, count me in." So next thing you know, 2 weeks later, he has a group chat I'm in there with Wes Claiborne, Evan Singleton, Bobby Thompson. I'm just blown away. I'm like, wow, this is crazy. This is awesome. And yeah, that was an awesome opportunity to get, and I'm excited for any other opportunities coming my way that way.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Wes, I don't know if underappreciated is the right word, but I think like in the strongman fan community, he's probably number one of most of us saying, why is he not getting an invite to World's Strongest Man? Do you agree with that, or are we off base?
I do. I feel like he needs, well, I don't know if he needs it, but I wish he got a little more exposure and he was talked about more, because he's definitely up there. The things that I see him do are crazy. I mean, his training, just the way log press alone, vipering 420, 430.
He's the king of the Viper press for sure.
He's lifted the heaviest stone that no one's ever heard of, pretty much. Everybody's about Tom Stoltman and how he lifted I think it was a 660 stone. Wes did it before him. Wes is up there in the sixes. Wes can load sandbags. He can move stones. He can move. He's very talented, and I feel like the very next big competition he does, I'm going to compete against him at OSG, and that's going to be amazing because I get to see it in person. I got to see him once before when I went to the Arnold Santa Monica, and he was out there, and he looked incredible. I mean, he got the crowd roaring with those Viper presses on the first event on the log. His deadlift, doesn't matter how you set it up. He did an 800-pound double in a sumo stance once just to joke around, and he made it look. He ragdolled it. Wes definitely deserves more invites. He deserves to be up there, and he's gonna win a lot. You can't count him out at all. He's up there. He's a big boy.
Yeah, absolutely. So you guys are going to be competing at OSG together. Is OSG going to be streamed? Do you know? Like, can we watch it?
I believe so. I hope it is. I mean, I'm pretty sure that they're going to stream it the same way that they streamed Giants Live when I was watching it through official strongman games when Gabe Pena and the rest of the competitors pulled that 1,000 pounds. That was cool. But yeah, I hope it's streamed. Definitely. There's going to be a lot of, the open class is looking really good. It's stacked. We're going to have Crowder there. We're going to have Tyler Cotton. I've seen Wes Claiborne. Zach Hodge, he's coming up. His brother too, Nick, amongst others. I mean, I don't mean to forget them all. I do a little bit of peeking at the competitors list. It's not like I'm studying it or any of that stuff, but it's going to be a great contest. It's going to have some big names there, and yeah, I'm hoping there's a live stream. I'm pretty sure my family here and over in Mexico are going to like to tune in.
Yeah, so Terminator says, "Can't wait to see you compete with my man Ronnie." So Isaac, I'm assuming he means Strong Bro Big Ronnie, our buddy, friend of the show.
Yeah, I'm assuming. I think so because he's mentioned him before, I think, as well.
Yeah. So is Ronnie pro though, or is it just an open class?
I believe he's just in the open class. I'm not sure if he's a pro or not. He did compete actually at a local show here in Fontana. He just came down for the log press. He wanted to hit a really big one. But he's looking strong. I follow him. We follow each other on Instagram. He's actually talked with a guy that I coach up there in Vegas because he goes to Smash Iron up in Vegas. And I mean, he got a good diet going. He trains hard, and you know he's excited about the show, definitely. So I can't wait to see what he does. I'm hoping he turns some heads out there.
Yeah, we've had him on. He's a super good guy too. Really nice guy.
I look forward to meeting him. He seems like a really nice guy.
Yeah, Isaac, we got to watch OSG. This sounds like it's going to be an incredible show.
Yeah, I was just looking at the website. I don't see a live stream listed. They're selling the tickets and all that sort of stuff. But I thought I heard somewhere that there was going to be a live stream. I can't find it right now. But yeah, that's definitely going to be one that I'm going to be following as well.
Yeah, that's the one thing. I think, given the world situation, the U.S. was kind of quicker to come back to lots of strongman shows. Some of the other countries, like I remember it's, 8 months ago or so now that I interviewed Donna Moore. But back then when we talked, she was a bit sad at that point. There just wasn't a lot for them. Now they've gotten back. They had UK Strongest Woman really recently, which if you didn't see that was an incredible show. But the U.S. has kind of been leading at the forefront of getting lots of strongman shows back. Like I said, Mammoth 6 is coming up. I'm actually, for folks in the audience that don't know, I'm going to be doing color commentary for South Carolina's Strongest Man and Woman in February 19th, I believe it is. So super excited to be doing that. Keep your eye out for that.
It's just one of those things we had to overcome with the world situation. Definitely here in the U.S., it went from East Coast to West Coast. And as things got lightened up, we started seeing a lot more things open up. And I'm just glad that we got an opportunity to compete. We were willing to travel when we needed to. I mean, America's Strongest Man was supposed to be here in California in, I believe, June, here at the Del Mar Fair, and it got moved to Savannah, Georgia in November. So, I mean, we all kind of appreciated the extra time to train, but, a lot of things had to move around, but it's one of those things we had to overcome. And, yeah, I mean, here we are now. I'm just glad things are back and rolling. We get to compete and put on a show and do what we train to do.
Yeah, kind of. How do you balance that and reconcile that in terms of there was a paucity or a lack of shows for a while, and now they're kind of all coming at once. Some guys, like the guys that were at the Shaw Classic, for example, that was a hard show, and they, some of them took a beating. And then Adam Bishop had to go do a Giants Live a week later, and you could tell he wasn't 100%. And, he said he was blacking out and whatnot. So what do you think? Like, is it the right thing for promoters to try to play catch up or just wait till next year and do the right cadence?
If you got competitors that are willing to do it, I don't see why you shouldn't do it. I mean, recovery is, everybody's recovery is different. And if competitors are willing to go, then I don't think why the show shouldn't go on. Of course, everybody has a choice as to whether or not they want to go. The choice has to be respected. I think that if people want to take time to heal up or deal with whatever life throws at them, it's still going to be there, and missing one show versus, missing a few because you tore something, you need, surgery or any of that stuff. That's at the choice of the athlete. The show, of course, when promoters come up with the show and they invite the athletes, that's to be done before the show's even promoted, honestly. So what I think is if they want to jumpstart it and get all those shows going again, I personally, as an athlete, if you give me an opportunity and I'm not, on crutches, I'm definitely going to want to show up. And I don't know. That's just my mentality. I've always had it playing football. I played with a cast on. I had a couple fractures before. I had a L3, L4 disc issue. I had concussions. You got to overcome a bunch of stuff. Here in the Strongman, when I competed at the LA Fit Expo the year before I turned pro, probably the biggest contest that I had thus far. I had Larry Wheels there, so I had a lot to prepare for, and I tore my hamstring about 4 weeks prior to the contest. So it was do or die. I was going to show up and give everything I got, and what I did was enough to pull out the win. So
that's awesome. Speaking of, what would you say is your biggest win so far in your career, or the one that's meant the most to you?
Biggest win of my career. Well, considering the LA Fit Expo was the last one I took first place on, that one is really high up there. It kind of set me up mentally to go about bigger shows. For me, everything was a level 2 contest. Prior to that, I missed out on nationals that year because I had a slight pec minor tear and I couldn't overhead press for a while. So I did the LA Fit Expo pretty much to tell myself, hey, I'm ready to go. And of course, I qualified for the Arnold through that show. And when I went to the Arnold, I finished 7th that year. So that kind of pushed me to where I am now. I competed at nationals after that and got my pro card there right behind Pena, and went to the Arnold again after qualifying through War on the Shore here in San Diego, and I finished behind Pena again and took 4th. Those were my last amateur contest. I've only done, not counting the log press, I've only done America's Strongest Man, finishing 3rd behind Crowder and Cotton. So I'm proud of all of that, but I look forward to getting better and definitely finishing higher. I'm not satisfied, honestly. I love those competitors to death. Crowder and Cotton are 2 of the most amazing competitors I've ever gone against, next to Pena. And I deep down, of course, every competitor looks to beat them. They're the guys to beat, and that's what keeps me alive, keeps me going.
Yeah, I was actually going to ask you about your road to your pro card. So at nationals, was it top 3 spots got a pro card, or how did that work?
Yes. So I don't know how it went in 2020 because I heard it was a different scenario of how the qualifiers went about with 2020's nationals, but in 2019, the top 3 got a pro card, and Gabe and I were 1st and 2nd. The 3rd place, really exciting about that, is that 3rd place was decided in a 6th event after the contest because it was a tie. So that was crazy to see Lucas Brum, who I hopefully see compete here soon. I haven't seen him in a while. Pulled out his pro card there, and the guy that took 4th after that tiebreaker was Emmanuel Frias, sorry. And he won the 2020 national championship, which is cool to see how he bounced back from that and just went and took what was his. He was meant for that. He's worked very hard for it. So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's awesome. Let's see. World's Strongest Blacksmith just jumped into the audience, so he's a good friend of the show. He's catching up. I don't think he's in real time, so he says he likes to talk about the Cuddle Bears. And what else? Just managed to catch up. I've heard a lot about Jose, and this is a nice interview. Yeah, thank you. I agree. Thanks, Jose. You are definitely giving us some great information. But yeah, here you go. He likes the teddy bear thing.
Yeah, that teddy bear thing, man. Might just get us stuck here for the gym. We got a lot of kids coming by here with their parents. But
yeah,
hey, it's a good way to start.
So yeah. I know you're coaching football. Do you coach at the gym as well? Do you coach Strongman?
Yeah. So I try not to do coaching too much because it kind of interferes with everything else I've done. If I can't dedicate my full time to them, then I feel like I'm doing them wrong. So the guys that I do coach and help out, they come in when I'm in here because I'm here Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday at specific times, and they can come in and learn and get programming and stuff. At the junior college I'm the offensive line coach and part of the strength and conditioning staff there. So from about 10 to about 5:30 every day. I'm there helping him out. And right now it's football season, so we're grinding. We're making sure that these guys are in shape and staying healthy, and of course, beating people up. That's what we do up front, So, yeah.
Did you play on the offensive line as well?
I was. I played in high school. I was an offensive tackle, but of course, biggest guy on the line out there. All of a sudden, I go to college, and I'm the smallest guy on the line, so I moved over to center, and I played center and guard the rest of my college career. So.
Who would have known that centers are small, huh, Isaac?
Not anymore. Definitely seen the centers in stature grow very well. We've seen some centers out there that are 6'6", 6'7". So to be a small statued center, you have to be very technical, very, very tough, and you got to be mean. You can't just be the big body that everybody else is. You got to be throwing people on the ground. You got to be smart enough to call out the defenses, the coverages, the blitzes. You got to be an asset. You can't just be the little guy that you have get in the way.
Yeah, it's interesting because now you've reminded me of a story from my youth. So many, many, many years ago when I was, 18, I think. So a friend of mine comes up to me and he says, hey, we're going to get jobs as security guards. I'm okay. So we go sign up to be security guards. And the first post they gave us was there's a country club near here and they had a pro-am where you had, it was one senior PGA golfer, one pro football player, and then two amateurs in a foursome. So when you said center, you just reminded me, I met Bart Oates that day. And so they put me at the post, like right outside the player locker room. So I was trying to get autographs all day long and all the guys were nice. Right. So my boss catches me one day and he's like, listen, like this is unprofessional. You can't ask for autographs anymore. So Bart Oates walks by one day, we get to talking and he's like, you want me to sign anything? I said, nah, my boss said I can't. And he's like, point him out. I'll talk to him. But he was a big guy.
Yeah, they definitely make the difference, man. There's a guy, I don't know if you've heard of Jacob Finnerty.
But, yeah, I had Nadia Stowers on my show.
Yeah, she's amazing too.
Yep.
I see him often. I drive up to Fontana every now and then to go train in their place. And Jacob actually does security. If not, he did security before. And Jacob is all of 6'6", 400 pounds, and can move. So when he says he's doing security and he has a ton of guys that are his size out there, definitely makes a difference when, your security team gets, run into and they're like looking right up at them. And it's just a straight brick wall.
Yeah, they were Giants Live was promoting the World Log Lift Challenge that they did recently, and Jacob actually answered one of their posts, and he was like, "Hey, how do you get invited to one of these things?" And I guess they hadn't heard of him, and they're like, "Well, what's your log PR?" And when he told them, they were like, "Okay."
Yeah, he's incredibly strong. He calls himself the world's strongest training partner because he was Martin Glees's training partner for a long time. They've known each other a long, long time. And yeah, Jacob is when healthy, I think he's going to turn a lot of heads. He's incredibly strong. I mean, he's running around with 1,000-pound yokes all the time. His usual log press is between 400 and 420 pounds casually, and he picks up. He does a lot of stone work, a lot of farmers. He keeps himself very active in heavy events. And right now he's nursing a bicep injury. He got cleared a couple of weeks ago, and he's back at it. So he's going to be at OSG. That's exciting to me too, because at least I know people locally that are going to be there. So he's looking to tear it up, and we're going to have an answer for him.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome. World's Strongest Blacksmith wants to know, do you know is Claiborne competing at ASM this year?
From his posts recently, he is. He's going to be an America's Strongest Man. So he was Viper pressing 355 pounds for 6 reps each from the floor. And he looks like he's got plenty more in the tank. He looks like he's in very good shape. The last time I saw him compete was at a show in Russia that he had to do last second because someone pulled out. He went out there with Travis Ortemeyer, Anthony Deal, and
Siberian Power Show, right?
Yeah, and he ever since then, I think he's just been training for ASM, and he's looking really strong. It's going to be back-to-back for him from ASM to OSG, so I think he's he has the strength for it. He's going to take his time to recover, and he's going to bring out, that animal at OSG. So.
Yeah, speaking of Travis, he's a good friend of the show. Have you ever competed with him at all or run into him at
Travis
a contest?
Ortemeyer. So the cool thing about Travis is when I competed here at the Man of Steel in San Diego, he was the MC. And he came out, and that's actually how I got to know him. Took a picture with him. I won the show. And he told me just stay after it. You're strong. You're looking real strong. I hope to see you do some bigger shows someday. And I met him at the Arnold when I was out there. Took another picture with him. He just, hey, good to see you here. I see you're getting better. And then this past last year's ASM, Travis shows up. It was his first show in a while, and he comes up. He's intense. He's intense. He got after it. And him and I, he had a lot to tell me because there was a lot of events that he was very confident in, but there was a couple that I got him on, and he was pretty upset. So after that, we went out and went to a bar, had a couple drinks. He's an awesome guy to hang around. He's got a lot of stories to tell. A lot of advice, and aside from it all, it's intensity. You don't teach intensity. You don't teach effort, and Travis brings it all. And that's something I think is a great example to the community. I think that shouldn't be forgotten because your success comes from your effort in and out of the contest, and he brings it all the time. Great soul to talk to too.
Yeah, absolutely. On this show and on Isaac's channel too, we call him the world's strongest philosopher.
Absolutely. He keeps a lot of people in check too. He'll check people misbehaving and stuff. I love being around him. There's no negativity ever to be said about Travis Ortemeyer. If there is, they got to go through me.
Yeah, he's turned around his past circumstances into being a really uplifting person right now, and it's great. He does his weekly gratitude post on Instagram, and it's really doing a lot of great stuff. We appreciate Travis quite a bit.
Absolutely. I wish him nothing but the best, and I hope to see him soon too.
Yeah, you actually brought up Tyler Cotton a few times. Travis and Jonathan Cotton did a team event at Strongman Champions League really recently. I don't know if you got a chance to catch it, but some of those events were pretty nuts, like tandem truck pulls, and it was pretty nuts. I don't know if you caught it.
Yeah, I got to catch it. Travis posted them, and they were nuts, but they looked really fun. Definitely lung busters, because there was a lot of medleys, a heavy yoke to a tire to farmers or something like that. And the truck pull was pretty dang cool, and
they had the coolest looking front hold ever with that giant padlock.
Oh yeah. No, I like it when contests get their own specific implements too. It's not like something you could train with, oh, here's a log. Everybody has a log. Everybody has a stone. No, let's make them. For example, the deadlift. What they did at ASM was awesome. They brought back the basket deadlift. And originally what they wanted to do, because Jackson Reeves, who was promoter for ASM that year, was here in San Diego before he moved to Georgia, which is why he did the contest out there. And he showed me the specs to the deadlift. What do you think? I want to have it like World's Strongest Man used to be, where they drop the kegs in one by one and you just do a ladder. But after figuring out that implement was going to be a little bit tough to build that way, then he just loaded up a whole basket. All right, here we go, 750 pounds, do it for reps in a minute. And the implement itself, it messed with a ton of people because you can't really get used to really specific implements like that. That implement there, if you had to tap and go it, because for some reason after the first rep, it was like a magnet to the floor. But then if you tap and go it, the vibration on the basket messed with you. So you had to be in control. And that's what makes the sport fun. You have to make it awkward and see who really is strong, who took care of the little things, and I find it interesting that, I've always wanted to go to Champions League. I don't know how you get out there, but their events just seem to be really fun. I was watching them. They do single fingers with actual logs, and they were out in the snow, the Viking press out in the snow, it just seems so fun to me.
Well, I talk to Ivars from time to time. I'll find out how you get an invite, and I'll let you know.
That would be incredible. That just seems like, aside from that, the traveling you do with Strongman, just being able to travel to different parts of the country for me is incredible. I've traveled abroad. I've when I lived in Mexico, I got family all over the place. I've been down to Cancun and Cabo and Sinaloa with my family. My dad's family's from Guadalajara, where my mom's family's from. We've gone down to Belize. We've gone down to Honduras, you know, the Cayman Islands. But then I see like Champions League out in Sweden, Finland, all those. You know, to me, it's an opportunity to go see the world and do something fun. And I see Travis post about it all the time. He had his little mishap with the hotel room and the bidet that he thought was a washing machine, I guess, or something to wash your clothes in, which is funny. But yeah, that all seems like an incredible experience.
Yeah. What's up, Kathleen? I see Kathleen agrees. She thinks it's way more entertaining when they change stuff up. It seems like some fans think like, oh no, why are they putting the athletes through that? But I think most strongmen and strongwomen think like you do, Jose. They find that's part of the fun.
Because I'm not going to mess with powerlifting at all because I respect that sport and I think that it's great. But the difference between strongman and powerlifting, to kind of explain what I mean there, is in powerlifting, you have one bar or maybe two, if depending on the federation. You have your deadlift bar, Texas squat bar, and a power bar, and you train with those specifically. In strongman, they could tell you, hey, we're pressing a stone, we're pressing a block, we're pressing a dumbbell, we're pressing a log, an axle. You make stuff awkward, but it just adds to just how incredible it is and the feat of strength it is to lift that over your head and say, hey, look, I can do it, and I can do it better than you. You know what I mean? So it's really cool that like the pad log you talked about. I'm pretty sure that burn the shoulder is a lot different than like per se holding a hammer or, you know, a dumbbell or, I mean, once I held a stone thinking it was going to be fun. No, not at all. So.
Yeah, like I got to send you some links from my Instagram. I like for my training, I go like on little hiking trips. I find stones, I find logs to lift. And so I got I found a branch that had a fork on the end. And it just struck me. I'm like, if I could find another one like that, I can make a bar and do stone over bar. So I gathered a bunch of stones and I was doing stone over bar in the woods. It's pretty fun. I just talked to Isaac earlier. I just went to Amazon today and got myself an outdoor scale I can take with me, see what those things weigh. But it's fun. Just walk through nature, see what you can find to challenge yourself.
It's always a killer with those stones, man, because you go out there on those trails, you think, man, that stone looks big. You pick it up, it's super heavy, and you're like, I hope this is like a 300-pound stone because it'll just make me feel so much better, right? But then I would say that I'm kind of afraid to weigh the stone and figure out that it's only like 150 or something or 100 pounds. Because then I'm like, man, I got to start lifting stones more often because that's just demeaning.
That's only because you're such an accomplished overhead presser. See, I don't have that problem. I have the opposite situation. I have a stone in my backyard that I've been lifting for a few years now. And so I thought, I don't know, maybe this is like 75 pounds. I don't know. So I just got my scale and I took it out there and it's 97 pounds. So like, yeah, that's not strongman level, but it's way better than I thought I was doing. So it's like really cool.
Yeah, it felt like a win, you know, and I mean, people come in here. We just had a member sign up here at the gym and he comes in, yeah, I want to do powerlifting. And then he looks over and he sees the sandbags and stones and goes, how much do those weigh and who lifts them? So all of a sudden we had a couple of members come over. So this one weighs this much, this is much. And he goes, people can lift that? Like, yeah, it's like you just have to practice it and stuff. And he goes, so if I lift that, if I go work on my yard, will it be easier? Naturally, of course it is. You know, I mean, you're used to lifting stones. They're not all going to be round and they're not all going to be easy to pick up like these. But, you know, that's the fun of it, you know?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's why I like stones, because when I overhead press a stone, I pick it up. It has like 12 edges on it, so I have to play with it. I have to figure out the puzzle before I can get it in position to press, and I find that fun.
Yeah, something about pressing stuff overhead that just makes you feel powerful.
We've talked about this with some other guests before. Like, deadlifting is cool and all, but like to me, the ultimate display of strength is getting something totally over your head from the ground.
This is where I would disagree. I think it's impressive to press something over your head like that. It's not something a lot of people could do. I've seen a lot of 500-pound benchers not be able to overhead press 300 pounds. It's a different movement. Definitely test your strength a lot more, core-wise, shoulder stability-wise, your base. It affects it a lot. You're not laying down on the bench. But the deadlift is still, in my opinion, the king of strength. I mean, aside from the fact that it takes a ton of strength and training to be able to get heavy weights off of that, the risk to reward ratio is alarming, you know? So you have to make sure that you approach it the right way. So it's not just physical strength that plays into it, the mental strength and the preparation as well. You know, anybody who can deadlift 900, 1,000 pounds, or even the world record, a lot of dedication and a lot of effort went into that, and you have to respect that. That's key.
Yeah, that's great perspective. So, Isaac, you want to jump in? I'm doing a lot of talking here. I don't want to take your thunder.
I was actually going to comment about the stones a little bit ago too, because when I was training before we moved and everything, I had a buddy, and we had 3 natural stones that we just got a hold of before a competition, and didn't know the weights on them, but 2 of them were fairly easy to do stone to shoulder with, and then the other one, neither of us were able to get it to our shoulder. And we finally weighed all 3 of them, and 2 of them were at like one was 250, one was 280, and then the one that we could not get to our shoulder was like 195. It was way lighter than the other ones, but it was just awkward. It was so awkward with the way that like the natural holds on it were. It just made it impossible to get it up to your shoulder. And then the other 2 had great grips, and so you could get those ones right up. So
that's one thing I noticed. We have a couple pro strongman here. Actually, one, Casey Garrison, was at ASM last year. He does a show called World's Strongest Logger, and they have a natural stone clean and press. And every time that they do it, I see him posting videos on Instagram with a very light stone or something that looks like the contest stone, but he's sitting there playing with it and moving it around. At first, I'm like, just pick it up and press it. It's 200 pounds, you know? But then when I went up there once to try to play with it, I realized just moving the stone a little bit, you see how awkward it is. It starts rolling a certain way. Parts of the stone are denser than the others. So you have to figure out what the dense part of the stone is. And then you have to clean it and make sure you have it stable before you press it. And the down commands for a stone press are actually super quick compared to others, because anything goes wrong, that stone goes on your head. So yeah, I mean, I don't see it as a loss there. I mean, you got the 2, I believe you said 250 and 280. But then the other one was weird. It's probably because, you know, you had the dense end at an awkward angle and it just fell out of the way.
Yeah, it just, every time you tried to pick it up, like you said, it wanted to roll weird ways, and like none of the grips were in the right spot. So you just, I don't know, that thing was miserable to try and move around. And then the other 2, you know, they're 50 or 80 pounds heavier or whatever, and those were a piece of cake, honestly. So it was weird seeing that difference.
I can imagine, man. Those things get real heavy real quick.
What do you guys think about the ability to lock out a stone? So when you're lifting a stone, you have a much narrower grip than you might otherwise have on other exercises. Like, you were talking, Jose, about the down signal. Is the down signal also quicker because it's hard to lock your elbows with such a narrow grip? Does that play into it at all?
It's tougher. I think it's a stability aspect. When I pressed the stone, it was always, or even pressing a block. I don't know if you guys have tried pressing a Mauser block, but when you get up there, it torques your wrists and your elbows more than your shoulders, you know, because you're sitting there trying to keep an awkward stone from tilting one way or another. I think it's a safety issue when it comes to the quick down commands, but the ability to lock it out is all about straining through. You know, it's a toughness issue.
Yeah, I have not had the good fortune of being able to try a Mauser block yet. I've so far left that to Steve Schmidt and Wyatt Dawson and Jessica Fithin and Gabby Bergholzer and all those great pressers.
Nadia's not bad at that too. I could see her breaking a record.
That's right.
Actually, no, didn't she set the record at Clash?
I think she did, right? Because there's one there's one where she set an American record and one where she set a world. So the block was an American record. I think Jessica Fithin still has it by a few pounds. But then did Nadia set the log record?
The axle level. It's either log or axle. She has a lot of pressing records right now. I know she took a few attempts at Clash. I know she went the Mammoth. That's where she got the other one. So Nadia's up there. That block is unforgiving. I got to play with it at Nationals. and I got to play with it at the LA Fit Expo. I pressed it at the LA Fit Expo at 200 pounds, and it was one of those where I had never touched it before, so I had to make sure that I played with it before the contest right then and there, and I was careful with it. That's where I took most of my time on that pressing event. At Nationals, we had to carry it, which was a little more forgiving. So all I had to do was row it into the belly. I was wearing a grip shirt, so as long as I kept it there, I was fine.
I should ask you, so do you usually use a grip shirt when you're doing stone work? Because I've never used one, but like I could see the benefit to it to some extent, but also if it's sticking to you and you're trying to do it like over a bar or something like that, I don't know. What's your opinion?
So the grip shirt has to be snug. I used the grip shirt before I turned pro. I used it at ASM because it was allowed, but I now have scrapped it and thrown the grip shirt out because a lot of contests are not going to allow grip shirts. I know OSG won't. You have to wear the contest shirt, and I mean that's out of respect for the sponsors as well. They paid a lot of money to get their name on the back of the contest shirt. So, and plus, I mean, it's a feat of strength in itself to not have to use a grip shirt because it just shows how well you've mastered the weight that they have there. But yeah, I got some experience with the grip shirt. It definitely plays a big role. And wow, all right, they're getting rowdy back there. Plays a big role and makes things easier. You know, things stick to you. The log press, the stones, even with the circus dumbbell, getting it in position, not having to slide off because you're sweaty, you know, makes a huge difference.
So you would recommend investing in a grip shirt if I was gonna be competing in competitions that it might be beneficial, basically?
So I say if you're learning the sport and you want to use a grip shirt, train with it. If you're able to use it in a contest, train with it. It's something to get used to. Your technique does slightly change because you get used to it compensating for a few things in the log press, for example. Rowing and keeping that log tight on you, that grip shirt does it for you. Getting your arms around a stone before the load, definitely, you know, because, you know, the stone's not going to slip off. Or not, you know, a lot of people that use stones with, do stones without a grip shirt, you notice that they're tacky up their bellies or chalk it up. You know, you have to account for the fact that you're out there perspirating, you know, that stone's not going to like moisture.
I learned very quickly after using tacky the first time with stones was I now have a stones shirt because that tacky will never ever come off the shirt no matter how hard I try.
Stone shirt, stone shorts, you got to have the stone towel. Okay, you got to keep baby oil and WD-40. I keep them both. They're a must-have. I think that the cleanup is actually harder than the event and the putting on the tacky itself. And I was grateful that at a Stone to Shoulder event at Nationals, we got to use tacky towels, and that cleanup was still hell.
I've never used.
Actually, give me 1 second. I gotta go lower the.
Yeah. Yeah, actually, so Isaac, I'll ask you the question I was about to ask Jose. So I noticed at Europe's Strongest Man, Pau Dwyer was tackying up the Atlas stones before his run. Like he was going, I believe it was Pa. He was going like stone by stone, adding tacky, and I didn't realize that was allowed. Or is that something you've seen at contests before, or was that a new one for you too?
I've never seen it before, and I guess it depends on where you're at in the run, because if you're at the beginning, I could see a benefit to it because there's not going to be a lot of tacky on the stones already. But if you're at the middle or the end, like everyone who touches the stones is going to leave some tacky on it. And so if you're at the middle or the end, usually the problem is that there's too much tacky on the stones by that point. So I don't remember where he was at in the run with the stones with that. Do you remember?
I think he was, I'd have to check my notes. I think he was toward the beginning, but let's ask Jose since he's back. So Jose, we were talking about Atlas stones, and I noticed at Europe's Strongest Man recently, Pau Dwyer was allowed to go add tacky to each of the stones before his runs. Like he was going stone by stone, tacking them up, and then he did his run. Is this something you've noticed in contests before, or did you see it for the first time like I did?
You know what? That's a first for me. But it wouldn't surprise me. I mean, if contests are allowing it, then I don't see why people shouldn't take advantage of it. It all depends on the comfort of the lifter. You know, you could tell me that a contest put a spray tacky coat over each stone just to make sure that, you know, they have a little bit of extra because the contest is, you know, a lot heavier than usual contests or any of that stuff. It's at the promoter's discretion. I myself have not seen it personally. So because I haven't, I have no comment on or opinion on that. If someone tells me that, hey, you were able to layer the stones with tacky before, and I feel like I don't like one of my shirts, then I definitely will go and coat the stones all over the place and see what I can get out of them.
Well, my response to that was that I could see it being beneficial if you're at the beginning of the run, because then there's not a lot of tacky on the stones already. But if you're if you're in the middle or towards the end of the run, there's probably already so much tacky on the stones. Doing that would probably be, I think, counterproductive, just because in my experience, especially if you're last in the stone run, usually there's already so much tacky on there that they can start to get more slippery if you're starting to add too much.
You definitely don't want a lot of tacky on the stones. Especially if you're the last to go, you definitely want to stay off of it. Everybody's done your work for you. So I've had experiences where not only did I use too much tacky, but the wrong kind of tacky. So the stone was just slipping off and the tacky was like butter. So yeah, applying tacky definitely takes some practice.
Yeah, we saw that a little bit at a World's Strongest Man, where some of the guys were having their tacky was just melting in the heat there. I think you're still muted, Jose.
Oh, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, I definitely got muted there. I forgot to unmute. But, yeah, the thing about World's Strongest Man, too, and how the contest goes is, you have to overcome a lot more than just the stones. You're out there in the open. Hot weather, cold weather tacky all plays a big role in there. So, also how much to apply too. Those guys are dealing with a lot more than your average contest. So it's hard to say that I understand, but it's to be expected. Sorry, I had to shift a lot of stuff here. There we go.
Yeah, no worries. While you're getting set up there, Kathleen is wondering, what's the heaviest stone that you've ever lifted?
So we have a stone here that's 440 pounds. It's the heaviest stone I have to work with. I've loaded it twice. Honestly, I haven't been doing much stone work recently, but that's because I haven't been doing much event work recently, since my weekends have been dedicated to my wedding preparations. But I have to get back on that stone. I'm pretty sure it misses me. So.
Awesome. Let's see, Isaac, did we miss any comments?
Don't think so. I think we got most of the major.
Yeah. Jose, did you happen to catch the Shaw Classic at all?
I got bits and pieces of it for the because I didn't get the stream. I was getting whatever was being reported by people that had it and were trying to keep us all in the loop. But I don't know. I felt like it was a little bit secluded in a way, so that you had to tune in yourself. I know that there was a lot of great things going on. Trey Mitchell took it, which was great. I got to talk to Trey at Flash, and he's one of those. He's a very humble yet hard worker. He's reserved, but he puts on a hell of a show when he gets out there. And very, very well spoken, very very knowledgeable. So,
yeah, absolutely. And it was secluded. You're right about that. Well, I won't think of any synonyms, and we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I mean, as long as, I wanted to see the result. I wanted to see what people were going to do. I know Gabe Pena was out there. Of course, I was tuning in to watch him kill it. And he, of course, the Hummer tire deadlift, which is what he was looking forward to the most. He went out there and put on a great showing. He lifted something extremely heavy, which is what I expect from him and his phenomenal deadlift ability. I know Trey Mitchell was going to go out there and do well, because very well-rounded, amongst others. I mean, Brian, of course, I wanted to see how he did because, well, it's his show. You know, I wanted to see how he performed him.
He did really well.
Yeah, and you know, everybody was. I could see how people say this, but it's, you know, his show. He gets to practice with all that stuff and all. I don't really believe that. I feel like if you're strong on any given day, it doesn't matter who trains with what, and it's any given Sunday. And that's why I'm not saying I was rooting for Trey to beat Brian or any of that stuff, but I'm happy Trey got it because, well, he's a hard worker and he showed up that day ready to go.
Hey, listen, I mean, we present the facts the way they are, but I have no problem telling you I was rooting for JF to win.
Man, that's another guy who I've seen just stay consistent throughout the years. JF, when I started researching the sport, he's been at it a long time, you know, and to see him still at a top level like this, it's incredible. Yeah, I mean, I want to see him win as much as you do, trust me. You know, it's hard for me to point at any of those competitors because, especially, you know, when I first got in the sport, I only knew the people that people were showing me. One of the first 2-3 people that I saw in the sport were Brian and Zydrunas because their names were everywhere. I was over there near the Ohio Valley in college, and there were commercials of the Arnold Classic all the time and how Big Z lifted the Hummer Tire deadlift and Brian Shaw did it too, and their names were out there. Of course, I knew who they were, Eddie Hall. But when I came to California, it was all about Martins and how he was coming up. And my second contest was a team contest at the training hall. I got to meet him and Robert Oberst in person. So that's who I started following at first. And then it all built up to me following everybody at the Arnold Classic. And it was incredible to see the growth and incredible to see how much those guys could actually do. And the show they put on. So now that, you know, I'm still fanboying over them, you know. There isn't anybody that I'm not rooting for.
Yeah, it's interesting you brought up Gabe Pena because how do I explain this? All the competitors give a great effort, but there's certain ones where they really get you because it's like they really had to fight for that one. And for me, Gabe Pena's 1,100-pound Hummer Tire deadlift was effort of the show. Like it's just incredible.
So Gabe's deadlifting should never be taken for granted. You could have seen him do 900 pounds the week before. He will find a way to shock you. That is his lift.
Yeah, absolutely. And like, you know, if you follow his Instagram, he's lifted with tires before. It's not foreign to him. And combine that with the fact that he's just good at every deadlift, it was just almost a foregone conclusion. But I mean, if you go back and watch that one again, like, I don't know, for people that are still signed up to Elite Club, go back and watch it again. It was just an incredible effort. It was almost like Jerry Pritchett the year before, where he just gave everything he had to the deadlift. You know, not that I want to see guys kill themselves, but it was very exciting.
Yeah, like I said, I'm not surprised. I saw someone comment on one of his deadlifts recently, calling him the deadlift Jesus. And of course, he wears the long hair. It just looks iconic, you know. And whenever the deadlift is in question, I know that I'm going to see something incredible from him. He's going to make it look extremely easy. It's his, like I said, I keep repeating myself, but it's his lift. Like if there's one lift in a show where you know that Gabe is going to just flatten it, that's the deadlift, you know. And of course, everything that goes with it, anything picked off the floor, he's great with. But, you know, you think deadlift and Gabe Pena is not in your mind, then you got to do some more research because that guy is monstrous at that lift.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think stuff like maybe farmers, he's still got a little bit of area of opportunity, but deadlift, you know, he's all over that. And he did well in other events as well. He did his first Giants Live recently. Which one was it? The Strongman Classic?
Yeah, I think it was the Strongman Classic. I'd have to double check that though.
Yeah. And he did
we're
really well there.
Where he pulled 1,000 pounds. Yeah.
That's right.
He was one of the 1,000-pound pullers. That's what Evan Singleton walked out with the win, which was great to see as well.
Everybody underestimated, including me, Evan Singleton's ability to pull 1,000 except himself.
It was coming. I mean, if you saw the effort he put into his deadlift and how his deadlifts were looking. They were flying off the floor, 700, 800, 900 pounds. Boom, you know. So did he have 1,000 in the tank? Absolutely. Because I don't know which event came first, which is going to be heavy. I don't know if they did the deadlift first or not. But usually when you do the deadlift first, it gives you a better chance to have a lot in the tank. But imagine doing, you know, a sandbag carry or a yoke and then having the deadlift. Of course, it's going to take a little bit off the tank. But knowing Evan, he has a motor. You know, he doesn't stop. So he was going to give everything he had in that deadlift, and I'm glad that he joined the 1,000-pound club because he's worked hard for it.
Yeah, Evan is a different kind of motivated because I remember going into that contest, people were telling me, because I did a prediction video, and in competition, he had only done like 380, 400 kilos only, right? It's still a lot of weight, but it's not 1,000 pounds. And so people were telling me, well, he said that in his IG, he's shooting for 1,000. And my answer was like, you can say anything and it's good to have goals, but they're not accomplished until they're accomplished. And then he just went out there and rocked it. So like, he's a different kind of motivated.
He is I'm going to prove you wrong kind of guy. And I'm pretty sure that if we think back, there was one very, very strong man who deadlifted something very heavy that used to think that way too. And they made a documentary about him, and he said that plenty of times, talking about Eddie Hall. You know, so those guys that have something to prove, you know, that are trying to prove people wrong, you know, watch out for them because they're coming at. Doesn't matter what they've done in the past. If they say they're going to do something, they're going to do something. And,
speaking about guys with something to prove, you a fight fan at all? Let's kind of look past the Devin Larratt one because he's jumping in last second. But are you looking forward to Thor and Eddie in March or whenever it happens?
You know what? I've had mixed feelings because I think because I was in martial arts as a kid, and the conditioning I had as a kid is something that I still wish I had. But unfortunately, you know, that's one thing we let go, including, you know, just like my hair, I had to lose a lot of stuff. Conditioning was one of them. That's a big factor. I mean, you've seen how thin Thor's looking right now, and Eddie's looking phenomenal for having been 40, 60 pounds at one point. So two guys that have never been in a boxing ring before, maybe in a couple street fights, yes. But it's a totally different ball game. And, you know, you've got the celebrity boxing matches going all around, and you see how different they are compared to, like, you know, watching, you know, Triple G or Canelo and all them, or even, you know, Tyson Fury and Wilder going at it. I think that it's going to be entertaining, and I think that it's going to be, I mean, just as new to them as it is to us. But I'm definitely going to tune in because I want to see how this ends. You know, the buildup of it was great. Unfortunately, Eddie had that little injury that set him back. But, yeah, we'll see how that goes. I think it's exciting.
Yeah, I agree. And speaking of how big Eddie was, I did a video a few months ago about the BMIs of every World's Strongest Man and Arnold winner. And Eddie was number one, 54 BMI. And number two is actually Big Z.
You know, my fiance used to watch Strongman a lot before she actually came out to watch me compete. Just one of those things she had to get used to because she didn't want to see me get hurt doing something she'd never really seen before. But she used to watch these, and I showed her Zadrunas pressing the Austrian oak at the Arnold. And she goes, how is it that guy can be so in shape when his belly sticks out like 2 feet past his belt? And I'm like, you know what? The thing is, when you put on that much mass to move more mass, a lot of it has to be fat. You know, you can't build that much muscle. It's just, your body can't hold it. So I think that's it's incredible about the science behind being a strong man, because you're so huge, yet you have to be agile, you have to be flexible, you have to do all these things. And I think that's why a lot of people can actually relate to it. Because you think about the average American, I hate to say this, but the average American is sitting on the couch, you know? So when they see big, you know, guy with the gut over there doing all these things, what's the first thing they get motivated to do? Or at least it plants the seed in their head, hey, maybe I should go try that, you know? So I think that's great. You know, it's incredible, you know, it's shocking, actually, that the BMIs actually got that high, the 50s. I never thought that Eddie would get that high, but hey, I can't talk smack. He was world's strongest man at one point. He is, in a lot of people's eyes, the heaviest deadlifter on the planet, depending on the situation and how they feel about Thor's deadlift. And, you know what? He was a 50 BMI guy, but he got it done. And so did arguably Big Z, is the most decorated strongman to ever walk this earth. So, yeah, I mean, BMI is what?
Yeah, he was 54 and Big Z was 50.1. But speaking of BMI, one of the lowest BMIs was Yanni Virtanen. And I always say that he and Isaac, they're around the same size and dimensions. They should fight in a celebrity boxing match.
All right. Well, when do we start promoting it? Because that would be cool.
Tomorrow, you and
Let's
I,
do
Jose,
it.
we're going in as promoting partners.
Yeah, let's do it. We got to get him in the ring.
Because doesn't Yanni have a little bit of a fighting background though? Because I mean, like I did some judo and Muay Thai growing up and all that, but I haven't done it in a while, so I don't know.
Hey, trust me, I know how that feels, man. I used to wrestle. My brother was a wrestling coach. After I got done with football, I'd come back to try and help him out. And I'm like, you know what? I used to wrestle. I got a little bit of a background there. So I went in there, tried to roll around with the kids, and next thing you know, I'm sitting there in an ice bath wondering why I did it. You know, it's not the same.
I wrestled poorly in high school, and then I threw shot put poorly too.
The throwing I can actually relate to. I did a little bit in college as well. Wrestling was just me trying to get a third sport on my varsity jacket. It's pretty much I was a heavyweight, so first heavyweight to fall loses. You know, it's that simple. The shot put actually was my first varsity sport next to football. Like I was a varsity shot putter before I was a varsity football player. So throwing, it's something that I'd like to get back to doing because it was something I could go do myself. I learned on my own for the most part. So, you know, that's when YouTube first started. And I still think it's really good fun. A lot of people have been approaching me about going to a Highland Games to go throw the big Braemar stone, which I think would be fun, something to look at in the future. But yeah, track's a big part of life too. I follow it very well.
Yeah, I think I'd love to get my boys into like shot put or hammer or something like that. Cause like, I mean, well, I'm 6'5" and about 300 pounds. My wife's brother's the same size, and both my brothers are the same size. And so both my little boys, they've been in like the 98th, 99th percentile for height their whole, like, you know, everything so far. And so I was like, I want to get them into something where that reach can really benefit them and get them into like shot put or hammer or something like that from a young age and see if they'll be any good.
You know, it's progressively started to, especially since the spin technique in the shot has been growing more and more. You don't see many gliders anymore, but you get those big men. You got the best guy in the world right now, Ryan Krauser. He's all of 6'8", and he spins, you know. I think that getting them in early in track and making sure that they get their balance, their footwork done, and get a feel for it early on, I think they can really build from the ground up early and find success. There's a lot of great coaches out there too, you know.
I actually watched him at the Olympics. Is he the one whose grandfather passed right before he competed? Ryan Krauser?
Yeah, his grandfather passed right before the contest, and he wrote it down, hey, I'm going to win this for you. Right afterwards, he had, hey, Grandpa.
He had the sign, yeah.
And not only that, he shattered the world record in the shot put. I mean, the world record was, what, 75-10, and this guy throws 76-8? We're talking almost a whole foot. You know?
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy
Amazing.
to watch.
He knew, as soon as he released that shot, he knew it was gone. Incredible.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. I tried Javelin a little bit too. That one, I never really quite got the technique because you're kind of, Isaac, I don't know if you've ever tried it, but as you're doing the run up, you're bouncing it. That's how they taught us. And it's like a rhythm that you have to get before you retract. So I always found, again, I wasn't good at shot put, but Javelin was more difficult.
That would make sense. I've watched it before, and it's interesting, but I couldn't see myself doing a javelin. I don't know.
My shoulders could not handle that motion. And not only that, when watching the javelin, I see a lot of these guys throw the javelin and fall. Have you seen that where they just eat it? And like, as long as they don't eat it past a certain line, then it counts. And I think there was like a meat record that I saw online thrown, and this guy straight up fell on his face, like face planted. And I watched that at first when I went out to college to throw, and they're like, well, you could throw all four. I was like, I'll stick with the shot and the disc, thank you. Because the hammer, for some reason, I had an issue with letting go of the hammer, so I would fall out of the ring all the time. And with the javelin, I was just too scared that I was going to blow out my shoulder or I was going to fall on my face. Not only that, I was about 330 pounds as an offensive guard and a center in college, so when I ran a certain way, it was really hard for me to stop. So I'd rather just do something where I just spin once and chuck it as far as I can. You know what I mean?
Falling at 300 pounds probably hurts a lot more than falling at 150 pounds. I could see that.
I used to do that a lot, man. A lot of my blocking tended to be me running upfield and getting hit by some little DB after a play and getting thrown on the ground.
So world's strongest blacksmith thinks Krauser's going to break the 80-foot barrier.
That would be insane. They're already talking about the 24-meter mark and how it's probably impossible to get there. I'm not going to say that 80 feet is impossible because there is a high school kid, actually Michael Carter, who went on to play in the NFL, who threw 80 feet, and that is still the national record with a 12-foot shot in high school. But it's a 12-foot shot. We're now looking at a 16. Sorry, did I say 12 foot? Sorry.
I knew what you meant. Pound. Yeah, you mean pound.
Yeah, 12-foot shot. Yeah, good luck throwing that. 12-pound shot. Now it's a 16-pound shot, which makes the mechanics of the throw a lot different. Now, Krauser is huge, which could play a big part into why he's able to do things with the 16-pound shot that nobody's ever really done in years. So there's no denying that man's going to continue to throw really far. If it's 80 feet, I'll be the first one to crack open some whiskey and have a drink for him, man, because that is 76 feet is definitely something you appreciate because it's a once-in-a-generation throw. 80 feet would be phenomenal. It would be.
Well, how long was the record standing before he broke it? Wasn't it like a couple decades or something like that? I thought it was a pretty long-standing record.
Didn't he break his own record recently?
I believe Randy Barnes threw 75-10 in 1986, and that record has stood since then. Don't quote me on the 86. It's somewhere in the 80s. 85 or 86. So ever since then, I mean, that's a long time for that. Like I said, it's once in a generation. Because we've seen people get close to 75, which is, I mean, Krauser and actually both American competitors and a New Zealand competitor. We got Ryan Krauser, we have Joe Kovacs, and then we have Tom Walsh, who've all hit the 75-foot mark. But the one that just kept improving was Krauser. So if someone's going to hit the 80 feet, I think he's en route to do it. We're all rooting for him.
You ever follow any of the running events at all? Nick Simmons has a pretty good YouTube channel going. He was paying $1 for every pound you can deadlift. You should go take him up on that and really bankrupt him.
So I'm going to need a link to whoever that I need to go to for that.
Yes. I'll get that to you.
I don't know if he's just challenging runners, but I think the strongman community could definitely benefit from that event. Because,
I think he challenges just people in the community. He's in Eugene, Oregon, so he just challenges whoever walks by. I don't know if he would disqualify a strongman, but he's trying to build himself up to be able to do, I think it's a 500-pound deadlift, and you put it down and immediately run a mile. So he's like working on that for the last year.
So I feel like you just gave a promoter for a show a really bad idea. Because if anybody's listening in, we do not want to deadlift and run a mile. Then it would suck. But
it takes like an hour to run a mile for most of these strongmen, right?
I mean, that we don't even think mile. We think in feet, okay? And how many feet are in the mile? Like 5,000 something? Not cool.
5280, I think.
Yeah, for any promoters listening out there, I did not give you any ideas. I'm talking about an 800-meter Olympic specialist, okay?
Yeah, so 500-pound deadlift would be impressive for a runner. and then to immediately run a mile right afterwards. I want to know what his hamstrings feel like after that, because I wouldn't finish that mile. I haven't ran a mile in like 14 years.
Tyler just corrected me. World's Strongest Blacksmith. It's 500-pound deadlift into a 5-minute mile.
Alrighty. Well, yeah, that makes it worse. Because the last time I ran a mile, I was at 12 minutes? So you're telling me I have to sprint a mile after a 500-pound deadlift? Yeah, I would tip my hat to that man.
To be clear, he's doing that himself. The challenges he has for others is deadlift only, so you're still good.
Oh, I was about to say, I mean, I don't know if I want to take him up on that challenge if I have to deadlift as heavy as I can and then run a 5-minute mile.
Yeah, he's done a few of them. He's done the deadlift one. He's done pull-ups. He's done how many meters can you run in 60 seconds or whatever. I'll pay you $1 for each meter. So he does all different, kind of just trying to get the community up and active kind of deal.
I love when people do that, just to get them involved. I chose to go the health and fitness way when it came to my bachelor's degree because I felt like that was important. I feel like Strongman is great because not only because of everything that I love about it, but it keeps me active. I like to be heavy, but it's a good kind of heavy. I'm not just sitting there festering with it. And as a former offensive lineman, when I talk to my guys all the time about is, you're big now. Stay in shape. Once you're done with football, find something you like to do. If you want to stay heavy, there's lifting. If not, get it all off. But health is important, and I feel like every whether it be a strength sport or just regular challenges like that from gym members, it's a great way to reach out to the community and keep them active because there's been a lot of issues in society nowadays where our health is just declining because we're too comfortable. We're not comfortable doing the right things. So.
Yeah, I think that's actually a wonderful message to wrap up on. So why don't we do that and give you an opportunity to talk about anything exciting? We talked about OSG. Anything else in your future that's exciting things coming up you'd like to talk about? Sponsors you'd like to promote? Any kind of shout outs that you'd like to do, please feel free to do that.
Well, definitely my two sponsors. I've been with Kind of Fit, Kind of Fat since I believe 2019, December of 2018 into 2019. They just actually they're about to release the anime shirt that they got going on. It's got a nice little logo on the back. Give me a sec. Go ahead and turn around. I don't know if you can see that really well. But they've got a lot of cool things coming up, and I feel like their message is pretty cool. They cater to everybody, doesn't matter size, shape, background, whatever. Everybody needs to get out there and be active, and they shouldn't be ashamed of anything anybody else has to say. I've been fully backed by them since the beginning, and I love everything they do and everything they're coming up with. And they started from scratch, and now they sponsor World's Strongest Man. They sponsored other America's Strongest Man when I was there. They're diving into the rugby community. They're getting into powerlifting. They're trying to sponsor as many aspects of health and athletics that they can. Because everybody deserves equal representation, which I love. Cerberus Strength, I just got picked up by them, and they got a ton of gear. I mean, just in trying out what they sent me, I've used their sandbags in contests, second to none. Their support gear is fantastic. I mean, easy to put on. Great support for them, long lasting. That's one thing I can tell you. I've torn apart belts and I've torn apart sleeves like no tomorrow. I don't know if it's just me being reckless, but when I put them on, I feel like I'm 16 years younger. It makes a whole lot of difference. Each one of their sleeves and straps have different uses, and everything's very well explained in their site. Ken and his staff do a really good job at reaching out to the community when they inquire about different types of equipment that they have. And they're really fast about their responses as well. So when I got picked up, when I met Ken at Clash of the Coast, and he told me he wanted to have a chat with me about, a certain, sending me a couple things, and then asked me to join his team a couple weeks ago. I couldn't say no. I was just excited to join the team. I got a message from, a comment from Gabe Pena right away, of course. saying, hey, welcome to the team. We got commented about me having some strong wheels, and I'm like, well, when it comes from a 1,000-pound deadlifter like Gabe, I think it means the world, So yeah, I'm grateful for my sponsors. I'm grateful to have those opportunities, and I'm more than happy to represent them in any way that I can. I look forward to working with them as I go to OSG and anything else that comes up. I mean, I'm aiming high for OSG because I know there's a Giants Live qualifier, and I'm going to give everything I got because I really want up there. And the efforts are there, and I got a great support from my fiance, my family, and the gym that's out there being rowdy right now and trying really hard to not go out there and destroy the stereo because they get rowdy when people PR, But yeah, it's definitely going to be an exciting next couple months. Aside from the fact that I'm going to be getting married early next year too, so a lot of things coming up, and we'll take them one at a time. And I'm definitely going to keep everybody in the loop. So.
Sounds awesome. Well, we really do appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule and jumping on with us this evening. We talked about so many interesting topics, and maybe after all those shows and your marriage goes by and everything settles down, you have a few more moments, we jump on and chat again. What do you say?
Absolutely. I'm more than happy to sit down with you guys once more. It was a pleasure, definitely, and it's great to get to know you guys a little bit, and definitely going to be following everything you post and staying in touch.
Likewise, we really do appreciate it. So thanks again, everybody, for joining us this evening. I hope you enjoyed this really interesting discussion with pro strongman Jose Baez, and we'll see you again next time. And of course, until then, ciao, homie.
See ya.